Hello, my name is Anna Sargisian, and this is my Art 501 Honors Section presentation. The objective of this exercise is to discuss the Bauhaus and another movement that was similar to it. First, we will discuss Bauhaus itself to understand this art school and its impact. Then, we will talk about the Stijl movement. Afterwards, we will discuss some examples of both Bauhaus and De Stijl art and try to find the similarities and differences between them. This slide includes all the sources that were used to create this presentation. Now, let's talk about Bauhaus. For many artists, architects, and historians, the Bauhaus is a symbol of modernism and artistic ingenuity. It was a German art school that was around from 1919 to 1933 that was combined crafts and the fine arts. The founder of the school was the modernist architect Walter Gropius. He had created an entirely new type of school with the Bauhaus, where students could turn into masters. On the other hand, he helped to turn the Bauhaus into a kind of free-for-all experimental laboratory. The school always had a unique atmosphere. People from all kinds of backgrounds lived and worked together and, of course, partied together. They shared ideas with one another and became teammates. Soon people started viewing the school as some sort of a cult. Was it? Maybe. Who knows? One of the main masters of the school, Johnson Itten, had a magnetic effect on the student. The whole focus was physical and spiritual cleansing. Some state that they saw their path to self-knowledge in meditation. The master believed that, in order to remove the veil of false world and see the truth, it was necessary to prepare the body with the help of exercise, fasting, and other things. At one point, the students even carried out a ritualistic body cleansing in the city fountain called Weimar, which created conflicts with the city administration. It was so bad that the school founder himself, Walter Gropius, relieved Itten from his post in 1923 and he left the school for good. Itten was not the only one. A lot of teachers had different philosophical views and sometimes, without even realizing it, they would push it onto the students. Bauhaus was famous for his costume parties. Founder thought that theater shows, lectures, poetry, music, and costume parties should all be part of the training program. He stated, "Rest and relaxation were no less important for creative thinking than work." Oskar Schlemmer, the head of the theater, used parties as an experimental stage in his workshop. The most famous one was the Triadic Ballet. The ballet had choreographed and designed costume for. The name Triadic refers to the recurring number 3 in the play. There are 3 acts, 3 dancers, and 3 colors, 1 for each act. The costumes he designed, as you can see on the slide, were based on cylinder, sphere, cone, and spiral shapes. The main idea was, in a sense, destroying the body with the help of huge geometric costumes, which essentially turned the actors into puppets. Despite its controversial and crazy past, the Bauhaus was revolutionary. There are a lot of furniture designs that students created that are used even nowadays. One of the most famous ones is Marin Brandt's teapot. Marin was a German painter, sculptor, photographer, metalsmith, and designer who studied at the Bauhaus Art School and created the legendary teapot. The teapot was made to be functional. The spout prevented the drops from rolling down, and the wooden handle was heat resistant. Bonus point, it was also aesthetically pleasing. She even created 3 different types of the same design, one with tombac alloy, one with silver, and one with nickel-plated silver. According to the founder Walter Gropius, his dream was that the architecture would be the final product of the synthesis of arts. During Bauhaus's first expedition in 1923, a group of students worked on a project called Haus am Horn, which was about what a modernist's lifestyle should look like. The Bauhaus building itself was designed by Walter Gropius, and, fun fact, it served as an advertisement for goods that Bauhaus produced. Sadly, Bauhaus did not last very long. Its life was separated to 3 different stages. Weimar from 1919 to 1925. Dessau from 1925 to 1932. And Berlin from 1932 to 1933. The reason was because Hitler became the Chancellor of Germany, and in the early morning of April 11, 1933, the school was closed by the police. Now that we discussed the Bauhaus, let's talk a little about the movement/art that I find is similar to this. The De Stijl. The De Stijl was an art movement that was focused on using rectangular forms and emphasizing on primary colors or grays and blacks. It was from 1917 to 1931 in the Netherlands. As you can see, about the same time period as the Bauhaus art school. Looking at it from the architectural side, we can notice artistic purity and geometric forms. The lines are vertical and horizontal. We don't really see any curved lines. We don't see any diagonals in 3-dimensional. This is a simple design. In architectural forms, we can mostly see gray, white, and black colors, with sometimes a splash of primary colors. But in the art, we mostly see the primary colors, which are red, blue, and yellow. A famous example is Rietveld Schroeder House, created in 1924 by Gerrit Rietveld, whom we will discuss in a moment. The De Stijl also had a part in clothing. This is called mondrian dress. As we mentioned before, we can see the vertical and horizontal lines and the primary colors. Very simple, but also very beautiful. This is a work of Piet Mondrian. He is one of the greatest figures in modern art and abstract painting. With his compositions of black lines closed up rectangles of primary colors, Mondrian created some of the most iconic works of early 20th century abstract art. His work was even on the cover of Vogue. Coming back to Gerrit Rietveld, this one of the most famous De Stijl art pieces was the red and blue art chair, by him, created in 1917. Again, same idea, different type of execution. Gerrit was inspired by British arts and crafts furniture, and he looked at a lot of furniture, particularly the kind of stuff that Charles Mackintosh had. Gerrit was just a traditional woodworker. He had a small little shop and made everything by hand. Another example of De Stijl would be the Eames House, created in 1949 by Charles and Ray Eames. Now that we are familiar with De Stijl and Bauhaus, let's compare the two together. Both movements were revolutionary and brought their pieces to the table. Now, looking at these two pieces side by side, we can conclude that both styles are out of ordinary, not something that fits into normal art. They are both different, modern, but at the same time are very simple. Simple, yet compelling. At the end of the day, I believe there is beauty in simplicity. Now now let's discuss the difference between the two. I believe that Bauhaus artwork is more chaotic, while the De Stijl is more ordinary. We see zigzags and different colors, different shapes, and overall chaos in the Bauhaus artwork, which is in a way correlating with the crazy yet unique atmosphere of the art school. The stage is more calming, more ordinary. Only 3 colors are used, yet there are infinite ways one can be present. We saw clothing, buildings, and art pieces. While there are many similarities between these movements, the De Stijl movement put more constraints on shape and color within a design. The Bauhaus was more economically successful and more open to design innovation. Alright, I think that concludes my presentation. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed it.